On today's Success or Excuses, we have a very special guest, Kenneth Martin. Kenny, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Kenneth Martin. I am an architect and founder of Block Architects and Interior Designers, based over in Hamilton, and pleased to say we've been going for 21 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
20. Not a lot of businesses get to that point.
No, it's every year's a challenge. Sometimes a great challenge, sometimes a difficult challenge.
Yes.
But, I think that's one of the reasons why I get involved in business in the first place, was to embrace the challenge. So,
But it is a challenge. And it can be peaks, and you can have so many amazing highs, and you can have some quite deep lows as well when you live.
Absolutely. I think, and you never really see them coming. You
never see them coming.
You plan for things, and you try and take the business forward with a business plan. That invariably you write it, then stick it in the drawer, and just go, right, this is what we're doing. And my 21 years has been a bit like that. To be honest with you, the business has contracted and grown and contracted and grown. I think as a result of recessions and downturns in the economy, as opposed to any kind of mismanagement or anything like that. But 21 years, there's a few stories to tell. Yeah.
What's the magic, Kenny? What's the magic to 21 years? How did you get to that point? Because that's a big deal in any business.
Yeah, I think in any business it's a big deal. We're not a huge business. No. We hover anywhere between 6 and 11, 12 staff, depending on workload. Try and keep as many staff as we can. But what's the success? You've just got to keep going. The chips are down, and you just knuckle down, and you just keep going, and you try and formulate a plan and a direction, and you work towards that, whilst at the same time remembering that we are professional architects.
Yep.
So we're not. I don't mean just running a business, but we're trying to manage client expectations. Funding. We're dealing with projects worth multi-millions of pounds. So I keep professional. Keep banks and solicitors appraised and in line. So the architecture, construction, development profession is bigger than just the business. And I think we do it well. How do we do it? I think we just grit in and get stuck in and keep going.
Cool. I want to go back now.
Right.
So, young Kenneth, what made you set up your own company? What was that? I think I can do it better. What was the moment? What happened?
Oh goodness. So historically, my father was kept racing pigeons,
right?
And he was I was introduced to success at a really early age, at the age of 12, and he had a big racing pigeon affair, multiple lofts, was very, very successful in Scotland. And he introduced me to hard work at an early age, thinking more than just yourself, because the animals came first. And that whole thing of being around, systems and processes and thinking about the future made me start to think at a very young age about what the future has. I knew from age of 12 I wanted to be an architect.
Really?
Yep, age of 12. Introduced
Good
to
on you.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Right,
Maybe talk about that. But
we'll get into that as well.
But at the age of 12, my father introduced me to a pigeon friend of his who said he was an architect, and I had never heard of what is an architect. And he says, I design buildings. Now, I was always drawing pigeon lofts. I thought, I could do that. I'm going to do that. I fancy that. So that was me at the age of 12, and the business side of things probably came from being around my father, thinking about systems and processes and using other people to have a successful racing pigeon loft. And I don't know, I thought I'm going to have an electrician's business. I'm going to, at one point I wanted to be a pilot, but I actually have my own airline. And I don't know what really were any of those visions. I was young at the time,
But you were a dreamer.
I suppose I was a bit of a dreamer, and I think drawing.
Me too, by the way.
Well, here we are. But I do think that sometimes drawing and use your imagination helps you predict or
it's called vision.
Vision for things for the future,
Absolutely.
So that was really it. At the age of 12, I decided I wanted to be an architect. I went through my university. It was 5 years at university, 2 years working in London. I practiced there, and then 7-8 years later, you pop out, you sit your professional exams, and you're an architect. And the architecture, being an architect and having my own architecture practice was something I knew I wanted to do all the way through university. And arguably, I probably set it up too quick. I was only a couple of years qualified when I set it up, but I did. And here we are, 21 years later.
So I want to go back to it, and then I set it up.
Right.
So you've said that you've always been able to dream and visualise and picture what it might look like. What was that first step like? When you thought, right, I'm going to do this on my own. What was that like?
Um,
Can you remember?
I can remember the context. I don't know if I can remember the feeling. I don't think it scared me. I think when you make your mind up you're going to do something, you know,
doesn't matter.
you do it.
Yeah,
I often say the hardest decisions in life are the easiest ones because you've got no bloody choice. You just get on with it, you know. There was a rift in the practice I worked with at the time.
But I like to go back to something you said there, right? The hardest decision in life turned out to be the easy ones. But what most people do is they take the easy ones and it ends up the hard
Hardest
one.
ones. Absolutely. No, definitely. I think that's something I've learned about myself is when you're feeling the utmost of pressure, it's because you've not took the difficult decision, and that difficult decision, as soon as you take it, it's like, you know, what's there to worry about? You know, like for example, having to, you know, unfortunately in any business you've got to pay people off.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
None of us like doing it.
No,
you know,
no,
so
absolutely.
you've got the sweats and stuff maybe for a few days, and then all of a sudden.
If your business is going to survive, we need.
That's it.
I mean, I talk about this a lot, right? And I think this is what a lot of people get wrong with leadership. Yeah, leadership in a business as a business owner, right? Being the leader of that business. Yes, it's about making your employees feel happy and healthy and part of something, but it's also making tough decisions.
Oh yeah.
I mean, end of. You've got to make tough decisions, and they might not be very popular.
No.
But listen, when you know your business, you know.
That's it.
Aye.
Aye. And those tough decisions are sometimes about the business or the people in the business, or sometimes about the projects in the business for us as well. You know, we've got to make tough decisions on behalf of the client. You know, and I think professionals and architects and people in that industry need to be mindful that that's the job. You know, that's the job. Sometimes disappointing clients because it's the right decision. You know. And actually, I mean, as an aside, I suppose a professional body now is taking us down that route. You know, we now have a responsibility to the public over and above the project and the client, and that's in the back of Grenfell. So there's a whole lot of leadership issues in there for the profession to think about. You know, I'm not saying we put our head below the parapet at times, but it's certainly something our head is now fully above the parapet. And then,
Did that hit hard? See, when all that stuff came out about poor design and cladding, and what was that actually like in the industry? Was it something that you were involved in yourself, like, oh shit? Or was it just an industry thing?
Yeah, not our practice in particular, but I think when a bit like the car thing, you know, Volkswagen reporting the emissions being wrong, lying, basically. There's a whole series of lawsuits and stuff going on now about products and manufacturers not portraying the right information in their testing results. It's still hearing rumblings about people trying to fix things now. So it makes you super cautious about specifying things. I mean, we were at a CPD not that long ago, and it was a window company who told us there's now 4,000 glazing specifications for their several products. And you go, how as an architect can we possibly understand 4,000 glass specifications? And that's just glass. When you look at all of the other components in a building, what chance have we got, you know?
Scary stuff.
You know.
So what would you say in the last 21 years? I'm dead impressed with 21. I just think like we're 8.5 years in and I'm like, oh, this is a hard graft.
You've a year and a half to go to get to 10.
And what was there any points in there with really bad lows where you really thought, what am I doing? Or was there any, I don't know if it was maybe the crash in 2008, 2009, or was there any times when you really felt your back was against the wall?
There's been a couple actually. 2007, 2008 was a tough time. I've told
for everybody.
Well, for everybody, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the business. I'm trying to think. So we set up in 2004. That's right. Yeah, 2004. You know, originally I just wanted to work for myself. You know,
that's what most people do, innit? Be your own boss.
Be my own boss. I was great at what I did. I could always find work for myself, and I wanted to just work myself. So my then new fiance at the time and I decided we were going to buy a house, and I had set up my business, and I bought my first computer. You know, 21 years, because I hate computers. I still hate them. You know, I think they're the curse. For all that they're supposed to make the world more efficient, I think we're going slower. But anyway. So I bought my first computer, set up in the house, in the attic basically, and I loved it. You know, I could sit and draw from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night if I wanted to. You know, and then you get busy and you think, oh, I need to take on my first employee, And I'm
scary,
like,
isn't it?
It's scary, aye, because you think,
Because all of a sudden you've got to pay somebody's way, and what if you don't have enough work coming in?
And that's it, aye. So fortunately enough, my first employee wanted to go part-time. He was a part-time employee, so I kind of built into the full-time role.
Cool.
But the full-time role for how it was Ronnie, a guy called Ronnie at the time, was coupled with the fact that my wife was expecting her first daughter. Mm-hmm. And Sandra's like, I think it's about time you and Ronnie moved out. I'm going, what do you mean? The office? This is our office. The house is our office.
How dare you?
She said, no, I'm going to be running about here in a couple of weeks' time with a baby, and I ain't bothered about people coming in at the house. And I'm like, I never even thought about that. As much as we planned,
you're in your own world.
So that was it. We moved out. We got an office, and a year later, I was at 5 staff.
That's scary, I know, and it's the first one scary.
Well,
but see once you get in,
the momentum,
you know your numbers,
that's
you know what you're doing, you know what you need to bring in to bring this person on. You know how much business it needs to bring in, and away you go.
And the second person, the third person's easy. And actually, I've got some management team in my business just now. And when we're recruiting new personnel, I don't do the interviews.
I don't do the recruiting either. No, we've got 17, and I don't do any recruiting. I get my team to.
That's right. Aye.
I might watch, because we do recorded video interviews, so I might watch it. Like if it's quite a high position, I might watch it. But see if it's a coach or a trainer or a salesperson. I let the sales director deal with all that stuff. I normally I like them because I like people. I'm big in values, right? I'm huge and I want people to have similar values to what our company is. That ethics, integrity, they're not mine and my values, but they all come into play. And I want people who are like that in my business, but hard performers. I consider our company, right, to be a high performing leadership company. And our employees need to be of high performance, particularly the critical roles. And that's when I never really get involved in the decision making, but I'll give you an opinion. They normally say, so here's my top 3 candidates, here's the ones that I've got, here's a score, and here's what do you think? And I'll say, well, I kind of like this. But I always leave it open, Kenny, so that they're not making a decision based on my opinion. But I'll give an opinion on each of them.
Well, that's kind of how I've done it the last couple of employees. And I think it's to teach the management that they've got the responsibility to do that. And also the responsibility to do the reviews after 3 months.
100%, or it's going left to you.
It's all left to me, because at the end of the day, it's all about bringing the management team up, not just to think about the day-to-day run of the business, but the succession of the business. And at some point we'll not be in our businesses, so the team that's there need to know how to do everything from ordering the paper clips to employing. And unfortunately, sometimes let staff go. So that was that. But the challenge really was then at staff of 5. We had I think then the business was like $250,000 to run it the year. And we had £200,000 worth of confirmed orders in the books. So my wife and I said to Sandra, let's take the B1. The B1 was 11 months at the time. Let's go on holiday. We'll go for a fortnight. Business is fine. Great orders for the year ahead. It came back, and then the recession just bit hard. And I always like to think of myself as somebody with a solution for all of the problems. But I never had a solution for this one.
Because the whole world went into recession.
And it was crazy. I think
we're saying you're in the construction and architecture industry because the bubble well and truly burst.
Oh, it burst completely. And I've often said architects are the first ones to feel a downturn, albeit they're the first ones to see the upturn coming as well. But that was exhausting. That was when I had to pay people off, which I'd never done before. So there was a bit of a scare thing, but it had to be done. I think we went from 5 staff back down to 2. And then I was committed to my landlord. I had a 5-year lease, and I thought, no, I'm going to see this through. But I did it, and I kept going, trying to see it through. And I think eventually I had to make the hard decision that I need to move out of the office because it's still tough, couldn't afford it. So we moved out of the office back to the house. Which wasn't my wife's favourite idea, but that's what we were to do. So me and Ronnie moved back to the house, but I think I moved back with something like £50,000 worth of debt, to overdraft and to credit cards and stuff, which I tried to keep the business and everything going.
It's amazing what we do as business owners, isn't it, to keep things going.
It's just crazy, it was crazy. And then end up, what happened then? So that was 5 years after the recession, kind of bit. I just couldn't get rid of the debt, so I had to pay Ronnie off, so I went back to myself, and I worked my backside off for a year. You know, I made a good living myself. Things were starting to turn up. I probably should have employed people again, but I didn't. I worked my backside off for a year. I managed to clear the debts, and then I took a big deep breath and thought, right, I'm back in an even keel, you know.
I can start again.
And that's what I did. I started again. Yeah.
It's amazing though, isn't it, how particularly running a business and the challenges that are very unique to business owners, and when you're passionate also, right, about what you do, you'll do anything to keep that running.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell this story all the time. Our second year in business, me and my wife went for oil and gas careers to starting a business, no income. Like, no income, still mortgages and all that, no income. And all of a sudden, we're 2 years in, and my wife's, she's originally Arabic, so she's into like the 18 and 24 karat gold and all that, right? So the Arabs are big for saving gold. That's how they save.
Right.
And I like dice watches.
Right.
18 months, we were in 18, I think it was 18 or 19 months, and then we had to go to the pawn shops to keep the business going. And she sold our jewellery. Well, all right, we've bought all the gold back. No, the same gold, new gold back when we turn things round. But sold my watches, she sold our gold, and we took every single penny and we put it into market. And we were able to turn the business around.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you literally will, if you are passionate and believe in your capabilities enough, you'll find a way.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I think the business has had similar challenges, maybe not as deep as that recession, but we've had similar challenges over the years, you know, with some months
COVID?
funding. COVID was interesting. I probably actually say that the business did quite well at COVID.
So did we. We doubled in size.
Every time we
doubled in
followed
size.
people and then worked out the back end, you know. I remember actually during COVID sitting, I think it was about maybe week 3 or 4, and I had a very good client phone me up and said, Kenneth, what are you doing? I says, well, not very much, you know. I'm sitting here thinking my 4-week holiday's over and now I'm bored. He says, well, so am I, quite a wealthy individual. He says, is the planning departments and buildings open? I went, I believe they are, aye. He says, find out, and if they are, we'll stick a couple of planning applications in for projects, you know. So the team was furloughed, and I just sat in my computer.
And away you went again.
Away I went again.
Yeah.
And I suppose that actually, when I think about it, is a bit like what it was, you know, like when I first started. But and I loved it, and away we went, and eventually, everybody came back. But that was it. So,
COVID comes at the other side of COVID. We talked about offline about succession plan. How important do you think that is? Because there's a reason why I'm asking this question, because a lot of people don't think about that as business. You mentioned something about the technicians, right? That's the E-myth.
That's right.
The E-myth.
Yep.
Why is that really important? So if somebody's listening, they're thinking, they're growing their business and they're developing their business, but they're not thinking about those things. Why do you think succession planning is really important?
I think it's important because when I first started, I never thought about it. You know, so I turned 50 this year. And my
I'm
wife,
older than you.
Are you? You don't look it though. Not as had a hard shift as me. That's what I turned 50 this year. My wife was 50 last year. My wife's had some health challenges, some serious health challenges, which I'm thankful for. She's came through the other end. But it makes you think. You know, it makes you think about life. It makes you think about your business.
What's next?
You know, and then the realisation that there's probably more behind me than is in front of me. And you think, right, when I started the business, I just wanted to go in, provide for the family, make a half decent life for ourselves, and all of that's been done, as you say, you know, with the assistance of our better halves. You know,
of course,
it's all been built and it's there. But then you do start to think about the team that's with you, about what do you want now at the next 10 years as we push towards retirement?
What do they want?
And I think probably too many business owners. Maybe young business owners at 25 to 30 starting off, they're all about, you know, getting to the £1 million turnover and multiplying and blah, blah, blah. But actually, and someone said this to me and I never thought nothing about it, but if you build it with the end in mind, then that's what you should be doing, you know.
It's one of my very first, so in our Business Growth Academy, module number 1, start with the end in mind.
That's it. So that's where
that's E-myth again, isn't it? Is it?
I need to read it again.
I've read it a few times. I love that book, by the way.
I've read it. I need to read it again. I've read that.
I think they say it in there as well. Always start with the end in mind. Like who, why, when, how.
But I think maybe what you've found is what I didn't engage with is, be fine, you know. It doesn't matter, you know. I'm just going to do this and whatever.
But most people do that though.
That's it. They kind of just run into the storm and just wait to see what happens after. But no, if I was giving anybody any kind of advice starting off in business, is 100% to do that, you know. we're in the position with block architects. You know, I'm 50. I'm now thinking, you know, what's next?
What's next? Yeah.
And how can I help the team to take the business on at some point in the future, and what's that going to look like, and what can I do to make sure the business is in actually, and it's not about the value of the business for me. Maybe it should be, but for me, it's 21 years. You know, I've built the baby. You know, it's been in different forms over those 21 years, but I want to leave it in such a fashion that the team take it forward, and it's still there in our 21 years. You know, but that'll be up to them to put the vision in place for what they want out of it. You know.
So I want to go back to Succession Plan. I had a guest on, and that's what they do. Right? They buy and sell businesses, and he was talking about you know, a lot of exactly what you just said. By the way, what happens with a lot of businesses? Because I don't know if you know the statistic. It's 80% of all businesses that got up for sale never sell. Never sell, yeah. Right, and the reason behind that is, start with the end in mind, is they go in, a health scare or something happens, and like, oh, I need to think about my health or my family, or something happens, and then it's too late.
It's too late, yeah.
Because your business, this business that might be turning over a couple of £1 million, you know, £2.5, £3 million, that you're thinking, well, it's going to be worth 4 or 5. No. Because if you're not there, it's worth nothing.
That's right, yeah.
And he says, and he was talking about that, he says, you have to be thinking about, even if you never plan on selling, what if you did? And who? If you get the people in the position. So, for example, if I had to sell the business tomorrow, if I get somebody that can come and walk in and take my role, yes, tick. My wife, but harder to replace, because she is the brains behind ours, because we're very big in systems and processes, so she's the kind of brains behind it. So her role might be slightly different, but we're putting people in place now, Kenny. So for example, we've hired that. A lot of her role is around IT, so we've hired our own IT guy now.
Right, okay.
And slowly she's handing a lot of the IT stuff over, and our CRM updating, and she's handing all that over. Our website, handing all that over. And it's going back to the succession planning, and it's not for to sell the business, but it's with the end in mind. Yeah. What if we did? What if God forbid anything happened to me or Enos, any health scares, because you never know what's in the corner.
That's right.
Like you never know what's in the corner. And we had to walk away. What would that look like?
Yeah.
And I think that's critical.
Yeah. Well, I've been working on that even pre Sandra's health scare. I've been working on that for probably the last 2 years. You know. We did work with an outside company that came in and helped us to systemize the building, the business. Yeah. But we're kind of there in some respects, but it's that thing of, I didn't realise how much I was actually doing, you know, because we did the exercise. It was like, right, you know, what does Kenny, who deals with this? And they're going, Kenny, who deals with that? Going, Kenny, I go, Kenny, I go, do it. And you just do it. You just do it,
absolutely. You know? 21 years.
21 years.
You've
just been doing it, you know. So all of a sudden, I thought, right, well, guess what you guys are going to be taught how to do, you know. Yeah. So all of a sudden, the HR was outsourced, you know, the accounting.
We do exactly the same.
That's it. Outsourced. That's it. Bookkeeping was outsourced.
Get the experts to get. Yep, absolutely, Kenny.
So all of that was done.
And a good HR and a good accountant are worth their weight in gold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So. So we just outsource things, and then the accountant says to me, what are you actually spending on marketing every year? And I went, don't know, you know, because the business has always found work. I was just one of those guys that went out networked and found work.
That's right, you're a big networker.
Big networker. So thinking, right, how do I make this such that the people who are running the business, if I wasn't here, have got some form of marketing input that doesn't rely on me. So that's what we've kind of grown over the last year, and so I've outsourced marketing. You know, we've got a guy that writes a LinkedIn newsletters and it does all that. So I've really tried to do quite a lot to make the business something that works without me.
Yes.
Albeit, you know, doing podcasts, we've got our own podcast. You know, people will still think, you know, Kenneth Martin is Block Architects, you know, the same as yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we do kind of do that to keep our face in front of people, but ultimately I think at some point someone else could do the podcast as well. You know?
That's I always think, right, that podcast, for example, doing a podcast, it's marketing. And it's educating. Absolutely. Because when you're speaking to other people, you're like, oh, I never thought about that. You know. And I was on a podcast. That's how I ended up with this podcast. So I'd wrote the book, I wrote my book, The Success or Excuses, and this person had read the book, and she runs this huge podcast, so she invited me down to Doncaster to go on her podcast, and we were talking about the book and the lessons and all that, and I was asking her, like, when she first started, she started her podcast in COVID, and then she grew it and grew it and grew it, and I was asking her, what's the best thing about the podcast? She says, the lessons that I've learned. She says, the people that I interview, the lessons that I've learned. I'm like, all right, okay. And she said to me, by the way, James, you'd be perfect to do your own podcast. I know about podcasting. You know, I don't know anything about podcasting. You know, and then she ended up becoming a really good friend, right? That Ellie. She was on my very first podcast.
I don't know her personally, but I follow her podcast.
Ellie. So Ellie, and she ended up becoming a really good friend. So then, this was in, like, I think October last year. So around about this time last year. And then we ended up becoming really good friends, and she came up in January and she came to ours, and we said, like, don't worry about hotels, come stay with us, we've got spare bedrooms, stay with us, we'll get you food and we can have a good blather. So she came and sat down and she said, have you started the podcast yet? I said, no, I know yet, I don't really know. And she says, you need to take action or you'll never do it, you'll talk yourself out of it. So I sat there with her that day and I phoned Mark, this studio up, because I used to use them I still do use them for all my video content. And I phoned Mark up and I said, right, in March I want you to block the whole of March every Thursday for 2 hours, 2 sessions for me. And then I did this March, April, May, June, and that was the start, because once I'd booked it, man, I thought, I need to turn up, I need to get guests, I need to turn up.
Definitely.
And that was it. And the podcast for me is the lessons that I've learned. You know, I absolutely love hearing people's stories. I love it. I love, because I know, right, and you'll know, as a business owner, it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig, because ultimately, as a business owner and business leader, the ball stops at your feet. Absolutely. So whatever happens in that business, it doesn't. See, I'm a big believer in not pointing fingers, right, and placing blame. I'm a big believer in, oh, it's my responsibility. What have I said or not said? What have I done or not done that my staff think this is all right? So I always, you know, kind of reflect internally, and that's a big burden to bear all the bloody time.
Yeah. Sometimes you just want to fail quietly.
Anyways, I want to go back to succession planning and what's next. So what does next even look like, Kenny?
Next, oh goodness, you know, I've had my eyes open. So about January last year, Sandra and I were very fortunate. We bought a place over in Spain, you know. So we were using it before Sandra's kind of health diagnosis, and we just kind of fell in love with the place, you know.
Whereabouts in Spain? Because we're thinking, you know, buying something in Spain.
It's a place not far from Torrevieja called Villa Martin.
Right.
So it's that outdoor lifestyle thing. Sandra used to live in the States for 6 or 7 years, and was used to the outside lifestyle, you know. Came back to Scotland, met me. She keeps saying she...
And it went downhill after that.
And I went downhill after that's it. But I know, it's that thing of, you know, that we've got our kids, they're now, one's at university, our youngest is in 6th year, and it's thinking about some what can we do to have time, you know, together and as a family, and where do we want to spend it, you know? So we kind of bought the place in Spain a bit prematurely because the weather was bad in Scotland, and Sandra came and said, "I've had enough of this bloody rain, let's just buy the place in Spain now." So, I mean, that's what we did. I think we flew out, and within 3 days we'd found it, paid the deposit, and thought, that's us, you know. But I would say that the next, I mean, I don't mean that I'm moving to Spain, I don't mean like that, but I think it's the business needs to support the business owner so that they've got more time to do what they want to do as well. So for me, it's to try and spend a wee bit more time in Spain with the family and enjoy that kind of lifestyle, you know. And then a bit more golf, you know. I've got a hankering to take up cycling.
Right,
we went...
Sailing your bum.
Well,
Jesus, man.
It's so...
Oh, dear, we even got to Centre Parks for a week. Oh, dear.
Well, we went, we're just back for the October week there, and we booked the e-bikes, right? And we thought, oh,
that's cheating bit.
Well, that's what we thought. I don't. That's what we actually thought. We've been in bikes for years. So me, my wife, my daughter, and my nephew was over with us. The four of us went cycling for the day, and Sandra had a vision of cycling along the beach, you know, and the nice, you know, bloody motorways and toot toot, that kind of stuff, you know. So we did 20 kilometres that day, and by the time we got back into the apartment at night, we were just never went for done. I just thought, 4 about key days.
Shattered.
That's it. Aye, but sore backsides for 2 days after it. So you're right. But no, it's all of that stuff. You know, it's like
You've worked your arse off for 21 years.
For 21 years, you know. And I keep saying, you know, realistically, never mind the business, there's never realistically very many business owners who could put their hand in their hat and say that they're, after 21 years, they're giving their business its all.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I mean, you wouldn't have a chairman of a football club for 21 years.
Yeah,
so,
no, I agree.
So it's all of that stuff. You think, right, you know,
when is time?
When is the right time? You know, when is
there
the right
never really is one either. But
no, I mean, if you've got a 21-year-old son or daughter and you're still nursing them the way you're nursing your business, then something's clearly not right, you know.
Yes.
So it's time to think about all of that stuff. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. Listen, Kenny, I'm going to ask all my guests their top 3 pieces of advice in business or in life. Right. What is your top 3 pieces of advice? So if somebody's listening to this and you're thinking, you know, I'm really struggling now, or my business is not going well, or in general, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice?
Well, one of them I think we've already spoke about is the hardest decisions are almost the easiest decisions. You know,
they feel hard at the time.
They feel hard at the time. Yeah. Aye. But I think when you push through that and you've got to make the decision. You know, so make the decision, live by the decision, and then crack on with it.
Yeah.
The other one was something that my father taught me that sits with me, and he was a pigeon man, as I said, and his was paper takes on shite, Kenneth. I go, what does that mean? And it harks back to a story whereby we were at a pigeon show one day and some guy had written on the pedigree of the pigeon that had won this race and won that race. My dad went, well, that's not right because I won that race. You know, so be mindful of sometimes what you're reading. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, you know,
especially on social media nowadays, everybody's
you know,
millionaires and influencers.
That's it, and you think, really, you know. So there's all of that stuff. My third one, what would my third one be? Top 3. If I'd known you were going to ask that, I'd have thought about that.
I don't tell him
Don't tell him.
No.
Should I listen to all your podcasts before I come on? My third one, probably pay your tax on time. Pay your tax on time.
How about what you mentioned, right? You mentioned something right at the start, hard work, right? You really need that. See, I think when you get into business, you don't realise how hard it is going to actually be. Yes, the feeling you get when things go well and the building and winning contracts. And I mean, I remember when I first started, right, we were landing, a deal for us was like 200 quid per person. A deal for us now is £100,000. And you never imagine how you get from there to there in a period of time. And you're always like, we talked about this, and it never gets easy. It's hard. And you've got to keep plugging, and you've got to keep pushing, and you've got to keep networking. Yeah. And it never really goes. So hard work is critical. And don't give up in the first hurdle.
No, you can't. No, hard work is oh, gosh. I think that was my father that taught me that one. No offence.
My father too, by the way.
I mean, it's no offence to my mum, but my father was one of these guys that before he went to his work in the morning, he'd bet the pigeons first to make sure they were fed and watered. Yeah. You know, and then...
And I'll bet he never missed a day's work either.
He never missed, and he did overtime. He did my mum's
how I was brought
when
up.
he came in with extra pages, you know. So it was all of that stuff. And the hard work element came in because he taught me the thing off, well, Kenneth, if I'm at my work, you know, doing what I'm doing, you're at the pigeons doing what I need you to do, you know, and that kind of work ethic has stayed with me. You know, it's like you got to get the result. You know, and I do that not just in business, but I'd like to say I do it in golf, but it doesn't matter how many lessons I take. I'm not quite good at the golf yet, but I keep going.
Practice makes perfect. That's what they say. Well, maybe that's the future.
Well, you know, when you say that as well, I said that once to an accountant friend of mine, a guy called Matt Donnelly. I don't know if you know Matt.
No.
Matt Donnelly, he's retired now and Matt says to me, he says, that's not true, Kev. He says, perfect practice makes perfect.
Deliberate practice makes perfect. That's the word I use, is deliberate practice. So it's that doing it, getting it wrong, changing it, whether it's your stance, your style, your whatever, and it's that constant improvement.
It's all that constant improvement, you know, and it's the same said by business, you know. But I mean, we're hard. I'm a hard worker. I don't work as hard in my business as I used to.
No, I don't work anywhere near as the first few years.
A week. I don't do that now.
I still work. Do you know what's really weird, Kenny? Right? I still really enjoy my work, right? So I tend to work longer hours than I need because I enjoy.
Yeah.
It's weird. And when my wife, she's like, no, I really don't enjoy it. But she works in my opinion, 100 times harder than I do. I sometimes feel guilty.
Well, she's drinking a glass of wine.
I said that was it this morning. This morning she was sitting eating breakfast, and I says to her, I'd give her £1 million to be in your head right now. And she said, no, you wouldn't. She says, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't pay anything in here right now. Because I could see her sitting in her breakfast and she was deep in thought. And this was 5:30 in the morning, right? Because we're early risers. This was 5:30 in the morning, and she was totally deep in thought. And I said, I'd give anything to be in that mind. And she says, no, you wouldn't.
My wife says that about me sometimes, or more often than not, that, Kenneth, you're not here, where's your brain? Oh, I'm away thinking about a detail or a
absolutely, 100%. I'm like that.
That's typically me. Although I'm going to say, as I've put measures in place in the business and the team to manage aspects of the business, it's freed up so much more of my time. Another thing I say to the team is, I don't want you guys sitting here working, beyond your hours, etc. Because if that's what you're doing, there's something wrong with the recruitment.
Absolutely.
So there's all of that as well, but. You cannot replace hard work, and hard work goes, I think, alongside that blame culture thing. And I see it a lot in the younger generation. I see it a lot there. I see it in my kids as well. It's like, oh, that's because somebody did this. It's not because you've not reacted to that the way you need to. And it's hard work and it's tough. Last night I was sitting, God bless her, with my daughter, and I said to her, she's bought her first car. But it's the finances through me, so she's paying me for the car, So I says, right, you need to set up your standing order. Well, how do I do that? And it's like,
been there,
so it's all
that.
that stuff, and then checking emails, and you think, there's about 20 emails there that you've not read. You need to actually read these emails, but that's all about the transition as well from being, a 5th and 6th year at high school to actually being at university and buying stuff.
Absolutely.
So I think as parents we've got to teach them this stuff, But I'm a big one for if I show you once, I've shown you. If I show you twice, I'm getting a bit disgruntled. If I have to show you a third time, you're just not listening.
You're not listening. Absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. My daughter works for us, right?
Right.
And she doesn't report to me. She reports to the marketing manager. But watching her grow. In the business, she came in when she was 21,
right?
And watching her grow has been incredible, man. Like, because if MD asked her, what is it your dad does? I don't know. He does some business thing. Now she's like, Dad, I know exactly what it is you do. I know exactly what it is you do. And then that's great to see her growing up in the business as well.
Well, that's an interesting thing as well, because I've had the privilege of working with a lot of business owners, because there's architects, you're in business.
You're working with businesses,
you've got the business owners have maybe got some cash, they want to do property, could buy land, do whatever. So we've got the privilege of meeting a lot of businesses, wealthy families, and we've seen that, or I've seen that, where the kids leave school, they go to university, they get a wee job here, there, or whatever.
That's exactly what my daughter did.
Brought into the business, and before you know it, it's about succession planning.
I made my daughter fight for it, by the way. She came to me and asked, can she join the business? And I says, oh, no, that's not how this works.
Right.
I says, see if you're serious. I says, what I'll do is I'll set you up with an email address, I'll get you in contact with the marketing team, and you'll work and you'll prove to me that you want it. And this was in the June, and I made her work to the August. When I say free of charge, it was never free of charge because she's my daughter. I made her work. By the way, she also held down another job, and she worked for a Next, but one of those, I think it was a Census, the telephone company. So she worked with them and worked with us at the same time, and I made her do that until August. And what I said to the marketing team is, you need to forget that Olivia's my daughter.
My daughter's name too.
Is it? Yeah. I says, you need to treat her like it was anybody on an intern. I says, because come August, I'm going to ask you and I'm going to hold you accountable. Would you hire Olivia if she was my daughter? So I did. Came August, she went away on holiday. She never knew I was going to offer the job. She went away on holiday, and when she was away, I says to the team, got the team, and I says, like, just lay it on the table. The lad James, she is so committed. She's so focused. She feels like part of the team now. And I'm like, okay. Would you hire her? Aye, I would hire her. Okay. Remember, she's no reports to me. She reports to you.
But then that's the thing, hard work. You know,
and that's that again. It's the work ethic.
It's the work ethic. 100%.
And away she went. Away she went, and it's been amazing to watch, man.
Oh, it's fantastic. I think. Well, that's it. I think I see it in some of the younger generations, though, that they're hard work. But I think we've got a duty to train them because they're exposed to so many. What I'm trying to say is, you know, Snapchat. You know, so I've had to say to my daughters, pick up the phone and have a conversation with someone, which is business owners we want them to be able to do.
They find it so difficult.
They find it so difficult.
Find it difficult till my daughter finds it difficult to lift the phone up to me.
Yeah, well, I know that, and yet the phone's always in their hand.
And you're like to yourself, every time you see them, they've got the phone in their hand, but when you phone them, they don't answer.
That's it. But it is all of that stuff, and I think it's trying to ready your, and I'm going to say not just your children, but we've had the privilege of employing some students at a university recently, etc.
We did as well, and hired them.
And hired them. That's it. But it's trying to educate them that you know, instead of batting 10 emails back and forward with your client, just pick up the phone and have the conversation.
Have a chat.
So there's cultural challenges, I think, in terms of IT and modern ways that these people communicate, which right now I don't think quite suits business. Maybe at some point. Well, there's the other example. I thought, because we're happy to try things, I thought, why don't we get a business WhatsApp, and that'll make it much easier for our clients to communicate with us. None of them used it, you know. I thought, well, so there you go, you know. So
we've got a text messaging system built into our CRM. Nobody uses it. Nobody replies to it. So we're actually not renewing. We're looking for another type of solution. But listen, Kenny, we're right at the very end.
Great.
How does, if somebody's listening, maybe interested in what you do, or just get in contact with, by the way, your details will be in the podcast, so they'll be on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. How do they get in contact with you?
Best thing to do is look me up on LinkedIn. So, I'm on there, I think it's Kenneth Martin 16 or whatever, but on LinkedIn, I'm never off it. Thoroughly enjoy the platform, and if they want to hook up with me there, then that's fine.
Brilliant. I'm the same, by the way, with LinkedIn. I am an absolute avid LinkedIn user. I love the platform. Sometimes it's getting a bit Facebooky, but I still really like the platform. I love reading people's posts, I love to comment, and I love writing my own shite.
I've read some of your interesting posts.
Listen, Kenny, an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming along, mate, and I've thoroughly enjoyed our chat.
No problem. Thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.